use this, or they may draw on it. That type of exhibit does not go to the jury room with you because it is just simply a replacement for her testimony that's given here in trial, or an aid to her testimony. Go ahead.
So on the 28th, what was the plan for you and Nicole that day?
We had talked earlier in the week. Normally, the meeting starts at 10:30. This Saturday, we also had a meeting that happened earlier in the morning for a yearly banquet that we would have celebrating Benson Hill as a whole. We were on the committee to help decorate, get the food, whatever, and we always met like a half hour earlier.
Okay, to discuss the banquet?
Yes,
okay.
To discuss the banquet.
So was that the plan the morning of the 28th?
That was the plan. First, we were going to go get our coffee at Starbucks. I went to Starbucks, and I sat out in the parking lot to wait for her like I normally did. And it was getting close to maybe 9:15, and she wasn't there yet. I waited till almost 9:30 and still no Nikki. I called her to see if she was on her way, and she didn't answer. It went to voicemail. So I thought, well, maybe those are one of the days that she's going to be running late, so I'll just go to the meeting. I'll meet her there. So I went to the meeting and went in, and I'd asked, has anybody heard from Nikki? No, not yet. She should be here any minute.
Did you ever see her come to the meeting?
Pardon me?
Did you ever see her come to that meeting?
No, she never came.
So the 8th anniversary coin, I assume, would have not been given out for her?
Right.
Okay. Did you see her after the meeting?
No.
Did you ever see her again?
No.
What did you do after the meeting?
Well, throughout the meeting, I kept trying to call her because she didn't show. Sorry. I called her throughout the meeting 3 or 4 times. I didn't get an answer. Other people called her also. After the meeting, after I went home, I still continued to try and call her into the night the next morning, and I didn't have anybody else's phone number, and my gut feeling told me that something was really wrong.
Objection relevance.
So, at some point, did you try to connect with the defendant, her husband, to try to figure out what was going on?
I did, but I didn't have his cell phone number.
Did you eventually make contact with him?
I did.
Do you remember when that was?
A couple of days after the meeting, I believe. Yeah.
So, looking at the calendar, you'd estimate, could you say?
Sunday, I think Monday? It was like a Monday.
Okay. And did you call him or did he call you?
From what I remember, I think I called him. I got his number somewhere. I don't even recall that, but he called me back.
Okay. And what did he tell you?
He asked me if I had seen Nikki, and I said no. And he says, well, she's gone. She's missing. He said, I sent out an email to everybody saying if they knew where she was to let him know. Myself, I never got that email. The email address that he had, or that she had, in the contact list was incorrect. It was an email address I had for my work when I was working.
What else did he say?
Just the fact that she was missing and he was afraid she went back out, which means relapse.
And did he say what he was basing that on?
I remember they had 2 bathrooms in their apartment. He used one and she used one right off the bedroom. He said the medication bottle was there on the counter, empty, with the lid off.
And to your understanding, had Nicole ever been in possession of that bottle?
No.
Did he say that he noticed anything else in the bathroom?
Her rings are still in the cleaning solution.
Her wedding rings?
Her wedding rings.
Did that strike you as unusual or surprising?
Yes, because she never went anywhere without them.
Did he say anything else about what had happened the night before, the night of the 27th?
He had told me he worked late that night, Friday night. He got home around midnight. He went in to say hi to Nikki. She always waited up for him. She'd always say, "Hi, honey, how was your day?" or whatever. And then that was her time, really, to go to sleep. She felt comfortable because he was at home, and she knew it.
And what did he say what he did then?
He went back into the kitchen, he said, and ate something, and went to bed. And when he went to bed, she was already asleep.
And then did he say what happened when he woke up in the morning of the 28th?
He mentioned that he had woke up late for work, so it was kind of late for him to wake up. But when he did wake up, Nikki was already gone.
Did he tell you what time he got up? Do you remember?
It was about 8:30.
Did you take any action with regard to Nicole being missing?
To what?
Did you take any action with regard to her being missing? Did you do anything?
I started making calls to everybody. Nobody had heard from her. I believe after a couple of days, I'm not sure when this happened, but the original detectives came to my place. I don't remember.
To them.
To talk to me. And it was at nighttime. One of my friends and my daughter came over to be with me because I was a wreck. But,
And did
holy
your daughter
cow.
know somebody?
Huh?
Did your daughter know someone who might be able to help in this regard?
She knew a lot of the members of AA.
And did you have anything made up to help in the
Yes.
search?
The place she worked had
Your daughter?
was a where my daughter worked, yes. It was a nonprofit. She knew someone there that can make up the flyers. We were willing to pay for the flyers and the work and the paper and all that. And he gave it to us for free. We started plastering them everywhere we could.
What did the flyers have on them?
It had a picture of Nikki, written down what day she was missing, and if anybody had seen her to contact. And I know we did a lot more. We did a lot more flyers after she was found.
Where did you put the flyers up when you first made them?
All over Renton, downtown Kent. We went up to the U District. I know she jogged around Green Lake. So we thought somebody would recognize the picture and contact the police somehow.
How many would you say that you posted?
Oh, boy. I bet you about 300. Yeah, we went up into Linwood. We went everywhere.
Did you go into the condo complex where she lived?
Yes.
And what did you do there?
Pardon?
What did you do with flyers there?
We put flyers up on all the banisters, all the front doors. Or not really the front doors, I should say down where the mats were, so that we didn't harm the doors in any way.
And was the defendant aware that you were doing this? Did you talk to him about it?
We wanted him to help us go out with flyers and to get out there with us.
And did he ever do that?
No.
Did you talk to him about where you were putting flyers up? Did he have any comment on that?
I don't believe so. I don't remember.
Did you talk to him about where she lived, or did he talk to you about where she lived versus the fact that you were posting them in the South End?
No, not really. I can't say one way or the other. I know the South End seems far away, but she knew so many people down there. In fact, I believe she worked down there at one time.
Okay. And did he have any comment on the fact that you were posting them down there?
No.
Did he talk about the fact that they lived in the North End versus posting them in the South End?
Well, we were hoping that he would take some of the posters, flyers, and post them there in the North End to give us some help. But he never had any. He never got any from us.
So, do you remember how you learned that Nikki's body had been found?
Yes. I was driving home, I believe, from work. I heard it on the radio.
And after that, I think you indicated a minute ago you had more flyers to put out?
Yes, and they were a little bit different than the first ones, stating that she was found, where they found her, and that at that time they didn't have her car available. They didn't know where it was. And so we had more made after that. When they found the car, we put a picture of the car on it with a license plate number, everything.
And did the defendant ever help you to post any of those flyers?
No.
I can have just a moment. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Arianes.
Good morning.
You had been present at some of these AA birthday celebrations for some of Nicole's earlier birthday or anniversary celebrations, hadn't you?
Yes.
And so you had seen her go up in front of the big room of 100 or so people and make a statement about her sobriety and so forth,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
How many times do you think you had seen her do that?
7?
During any of those prior birthday or anniversary meetings, was Nicole taking prescription pain pills to your knowledge?
No.
Ms. Arianes, on direct examination, you told the jury about the morning of January 28th and these plans to meet at Starbucks, correct?
Yes.
And you recounted how you actually waited in front of Starbucks for a while and Nicole didn't show up and then you decided to go to the meeting, correct?
Right.
Do you remember speaking with detectives in this case way back in 2006, very shortly after Nicole's body was found?
Yes.
Do you remember being interviewed by a detective, Jesse Anderson, and a detective, Kathy Decker?
Yes. I
And
did.
they came to your house in Tukwila, is that right?
Yes, they did.
And at the time, this was just a couple of weeks after the meeting, the AA meeting that she didn't show up to, is that correct?
Right.
Would you agree that your memory regarding events in 2006 was better back then than it is now?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. Do you remember when Detectives Anderson and Decker asked you about whether or not there were any plans to meet before the meeting on January 28th? Do you remember if they asked you about that?
No.
Okay. Do you remember telling them that there was not a plan to meet before the Saturday meeting on January 28th?
I don't remember telling them that.
Okay. If they wrote that in their report regarding their interview with you, would you disagree with that?
No.
Okay. You also answered some questions about this retainer, or you called it a night guard, that you knew Nikki to wear.
Yes.
And the time that you saw her wear it, that was a time when you went over there to go out to lunch with Nikki, correct?
Or just meet there. Not necessarily go anywhere. We would meet at her place every once in a while.
Okay. That was an occasion when she knew you were coming.
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't a surprise visit.
No.
Your Honor, if I may just have one moment.
You may.
Ms. Arias, do you remember when I interviewed you over the phone a few weeks ago about this case? And you remember that?
Yes.
That was me on the other end of the
Okay.
phone. And one of the prosecutors was on the phone as well. Do you remember that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you remember telling me when I asked you about seeing Nicole wear the retainer, do you remember telling me that it was a lunchtime meeting that you were going there to meet Nicole for?
It could have been.
Okay.
It could have been. I mean, I met her so many different times. Would be at lunch, or I'd go get her, or I'd meet with her at her place. But I know it was at her place because she would not wear it out in public.
But it wasn't the kind of relationship where you would just drop in on her.
I don't do that.
Is that all, Counsel Ford?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Ms. Arias, in that conversation that the defendant's lawyer was just asking about the interview, did you indicate to him that you were going to meet for lunch, but you went to her house first, and that's when she had the retainer in?
Yes. I know she was having a hard time getting out of her apartment.
So, did you ever meet her for lunch when she was wearing a retainer at lunch?
No.
State's Exhibit 3.
And the defendant's lawyer also asked you about a non-taped interview that you gave to detectives, indicating that you weren't planning to meet her at Starbucks. Do you remember giving a taped statement on May 23rd of 2007 to Detective Crenshaw?
I didn't remember that until actually I saw the transcript.
Okay, so you've had a chance to review that transcript?
Yes.
All right.
And then I remembered it.
I'm going to do State's Exhibit 3 and direct your attention to page 7 of the taped interview. Could you review that and indicate whether you told the detectives you were planning to meet her at Starbucks?
The whole page?
No, just the marked part, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay.
That was before a meeting.
Right, and what did you tell the detectives in that taped statement?
Yes, that I had planned on it.
Okay. So the untaped statement that Mr. Offenbacher was asking you about, do you believe that to be a correct rendition of what you said, or do you think the taped statement is more accurate?
If this is the morning of the meeting, then yes,
You plan
I
to
did
figure it
plan
out?
on meeting her.
Thank you.
Ms. Arianis, the taped interview was in 2007, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as you indicated earlier, you met with these detectives in February of 2006 when they spoke with you?
Yes.
Okay. And again, wouldn't you agree that your memory regarding the events of January 28, 2006 were more fresh at that time?
Oh, I'm sure it was, yes.
Okay.
No, that's improper. We're going to object to the plan to have her read directly from the detective's follow-up with the questions that we answered.
Well,
Hold on. We're not going to have an argument in the jury about this. Your proposal is to show her something?
yes, Your Honor.
Under 612, he can show her virtually anything, counsel. She's not going to read it to the jury.
Correct.
But she may be shown a document to see if it refreshes her memory.
Agreed.
If she says it doesn't refresh her memory, that's the end of it, unless you call the other witness.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Ms. Arianis, I'm handing you. Can you read that?
Did you say reading glasses?
Yeah.
You know, I keep them up here just in case. Now, I'll tell you, they are very scratched, but they're very powerful because they used to be mine, and I'm blind.
Oh, great.
That help?
Yes. Thank you.
Excuse me, it doesn't work.
Now, what he's asking you to do is just read that portion to yourself.
That's highlighted?
Yeah.
And Your Honor, I need to mark this as an exhibit. Should I do this first?
You may do that as well. That'll be Exhibit 4? All right. She can do it. He can mark it after we're done with it.
Just the highlighted areas?
There's a highlight. There's a highlighted section in the middle. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay. And the highlighted section in the middle says, Barbara stated there was not.
You're not going to read it. She can read it
Can you read the
to herself.
middle highlighted section?
I can.
Does that refresh your recollection as to your conversation with the detectives in February 2006?
Well, if that's what I said, but
That's not the question. The question is, does it refresh your memory?
it refreshes it, yes.
Okay? If her memory is refreshed, you can ask her a question about that memory which is now refreshed.
And do you agree that if the detective said that you told them there was not a plan to meet on the 28th before the meeting, that that's accurate? Or do you disagree with that?
I disagree with it.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Nothing further.
This witness may step down. I assume she can be excused.
Yes, please.
And I have marked it as exhibit 4.
That is the statement of detectives. Okay. You may call your next witness.
Thank you. The state will call Tanya Zurcher.
you swear or affirm your testimony in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please see, please.
Could you give us your name?
Tanya Zurcher,
And how do you spell your last name?
Zurcher.
You might want to spell your first name, too.
Tanya, Tonia.
And do you live in this area?
I live in Belfair, Hood Canal area.
How long have you lived in Belfair?
About 15 years.
And do you have any brothers or sisters?
Nicole was my only sister,
And was she older or younger than you?
5 years younger.
Can you describe your relationship with her in terms of how frequently you saw each other? Did you consider yourself close?
Yeah, I consider we were close, and we spoke together on the phone at least weekly.
And how often would you say that you saw her?
Maybe once a month.
And Belfair is located where?
The tip of Hood Canal.
So it's a hefty drive from Linwood.
Yes, long drive.
Did Nicole ever stay overnight with you at your house?
Yes.
I want to ask you a little bit about an issue that she had with regard to her intestines and stomach.
She had Crohn's disease.
Okay. And what effect did that have on her?
She had to be really careful of what she ate.
What would happen if she ate the wrong thing?
Just horrible stomach problems. Horrible stomach problems.
Are you aware she was taking medication for it as well?
Yes.
And do you know if Nicole had a particular dislike for any particular type of food?
She hated tomatoes.
Do you know if that's because it upset the Crohn's or she just didn't like them?
Neither one of us like them.
Now, when she would stay overnight with you, would that just be for a visit?
Yes.
Were you aware of her ever wearing any sort of dental appliance, something on her teeth?
She had a night guard
And how long had you known her to have that?
since school, high school, I believe.
And when would she wear it?
Only at night.
Why only at night?
It affected her speech.
How so?
It would make her lisp, so she didn't ever wear it in public.
Were you also aware whether Nicole ever had a problem with prescription medications?
She was years and years and years ago. She was diagnosed with endometriosis and was prescribed pills for that condition.
And what was your understanding of what endometriosis was?
It's not shedding your uterine lining, scar tissue buildup, causes really painful cramps.
You a little nervous today?
Yeah,
Okay. There's a cup of water there for you.
thank you.
When you said years and years and years ago, do you remember a time frame of when that would have been, when that problem started for her?
High school, when she started menstruating.
And at some point, did she get treatment for the pain pill problem?
Yes,
Was she addicted to pain pills?
yes, she was.
And how did she get treatment?
With help from family and friends. AA was very big to her. Her sobriety was everything to her.
Did she go to a rehab facility as well?
Yes,
Do you remember around when that was?
I don't remember the dates.
Since that time, when she had become clean, had she, to your knowledge, stayed clean and sober?
Yes, absolutely.
So I want to direct your attention to late January of 2006. Were you aware of an upcoming event for her that had to do with AA?
Yeah, she was accepting her 8-year sobriety coin from AA.
And how did she feel about that?
She was so excited. We were all really proud of her.
Now, are you also familiar with the defendant, Martin David Pietz?
Yes.
And how do you know him? Had you met him through her?
Yes, through Nicole.
When did you first meet him, would you say?
I don't have a time frame. I don't know.
Was it while they were dating?
Yes.
Do you remember when they got married?
Yes. In April of 2002.
Did you spend much time together with them as a couple?
We went to Canada one day, or for a weekend, to our mom's side of the family. And when we all flew to Hawaii for their wedding.
Beyond that, did you have much contact with the defendant?
No.
I would like to move you ahead to the early part of 2006, and actually December of 2005. Were you aware of Nicole having any health issues around that time?
Yes, she had some back troubles.
Can you describe that a little bit?
I don't know if it was an injury or what, but she had a back injury, and I took her for an epidural shot in her lower back.
Okay, and where was that she got that treatment?
In Linwood.
And what was that supposed to do?
It was supposed to alleviate her pain.
Do you remember approximately when that was?
No, I don't remember the date, sorry.
You don't need to know the dates, but in terms of months, are you able to narrow it down at all?
No, I'm sorry.
Do you remember saying previously that you thought it was around December of 2005?
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Okay. And were you aware of whether she had been prescribed any pain medication for the back?
She was prescribed some medicine, but she was really up in arms about taking it. She had talked to her AA people and said half of them were saying if she's prescribed, she could take them, and the other half said, well, if you're using, you're using. Mm-hmm. So even the day that we got back from the hospital when she was in the most pain, she wouldn't even take one then. And even if she did, it may have been a quarter of one.
A quarter of a pill?
Yes.
In late January 2006, let's say specifically January 29th, Sunday, did you receive a telephone call from the defendant, or did you learn some information about Nicole?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recall if you got the call from the defendant or how that happened?
I don't remember if he called me or I called him, but I was told that Nikki was missing.
After you got that information either from him or someone else, did you actually talk to the defendant about it? And what did he say to you? What was the first thing he said to you?
Well, first I asked, what do you mean missing? You know, I thought maybe he'd ask if I'd seen her or heard from her. But
did he ask you that?
No. He just said Nikki's missing.
And did he give you any details at that point?
Well, I knew Mom and Rod were flying in from Arizona, and I just was scraping the backs of my mind of where we could call the hospitals, police stations, things like that.
So did you give him that information?
Yes, I did.
And what was your expectation was going to happen?
I needed him to call those places. They would only give the husband the information at the hospitals.
Did you check back with him that night about whether he had tried those places?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He said, no, he's been sleeping.
And you said that your parents were coming in from Arizona.
Yes.
Is that right? Did you at some point go to the condo that Nikki shared with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And where did you, first of all, let me ask you if you remember when you went.
I don't remember what day it was. It was also scary.
But around that same time?
Yes, right then.
Okay. And when you got to the condo, how did he greet you, or what was the conversation?
Well, we just kind of looked through her room and her bathroom, and while I was in there, pointed out her wedding ring to me, and I thought that was odd because she was pretty proud of that.
Where was the wedding ring?
On her bathroom counter.
Okay, where's the bathroom compared to their bedroom?
It's right off of their bedroom.
Attached to it?
Yes.
Did you see anything, or did he point out anything, did you see anything else in the bathroom that caught your attention?
He pointed at her medicine bottle that she was prescribed.
And what was about it that was of interest?
It was empty.
Was that the narcotic pain pills?
Yes.
Did the defendant say anything about Nicole's wedding rings being in the bathroom?
Yeah, he pointed that out and said, "Oh, we just stopped wearing them recently."
Did he volunteer that information to you?
Yeah, weird.
At the time that he said that to you, had you even seen the rings yet?
No,
Did that make sense to you?
not at all.
And how long do you think it had been since you talked to Nikki?
The Thursday before the weekend she went missing.
Did you know anything at that time about the fact that she had stopped wearing her wedding ring?
No,
Did you ever see her without her wedding rings?
no. She was pretty proud of it.
Did he comment on anything else or tell you anything else?
He just pointed out the empty bottle and said she must have taken them, and I said, well, she must have dumped them out because that was what she was going to do with them. And there was a big pile of clothes on the floor. She did not throw her clothes on the floor.
Objection, foundation.
They were Nikki's clothes?
Yes,
Where were they located?
a pile on the floor in their room.
In the bedroom?
Yeah.
And did Nikki tell us how Nikki felt about her clothes or how she cared for her clothing?
She was fashionista. No, she really liked her clothes. She bought all Ann Taylor business things. She had a really nice wardrobe.
Conservative.
Yes.
Did you ask him about whether they'd been fighting?
Yeah, I did. And he said no.
So, did you look for Nikki?
Yes.
And what sorts of places did you look?
We started around Linwood. We made flyers. I went on all the Washington State ferries. She had lived in West Seattle for a time, so I went to West Seattle and checked in some of the bars and places that I had worked that knew her.
Now,
And
why would you check bars in West Seattle? What prompted you to do that?
because I worked there, and that's where my friends and people were that knew her.
Okay.
So,
Was there any indication that you had had in that recent contact with her, or in even the months before, to indicate that she was close to relapsing?
not at all.
Did you do anything in response to what the defendant told you about the pills? Did that affect where you looked?
Yeah, I did give him the number to the University District. I think it was a rehab place that she had gone to help get clean the first time, in hopes that maybe she was there.
Okay. And was that because of what the defendant had told you about the pills?
Yeah, I didn't think that she was there, but just in case, I was hoping she was.
Did the defendant ever help you look for her?
No, he didn't pay me.
Did he ever help you post the flyers?
No,
Did you ever see him make any phone calls related to her disappearance?
no,
Did you ever see him join in searches with people from AA or her workplace?
not at all.
Can you describe the garage to their condo?
I didn't go in it. He said that he had already looked in the garage.
Did you talk to him about where her car might be?
We didn't really think, I wasn't really thinking about the car at the time.
Did he say anything about where he thought the car was?
No.
after Nicole's body was found, about a week later, did you attend the funeral?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us strictly what you saw or observed of the defendant during the funeral?
We're kind of a huggy group, and he wouldn't hug me or make eye contact with me, and just kind of stared straight ahead at the funeral.
Did he talk to you at all?
No.
Give you that,
States Exhibit 5. And States Exhibit 6.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked States Exhibit 5. Ask you if you recognize the person in that picture,
Yes.
and who do you recognize that as?
My beautiful baby sister.
And can you describe whether she appears to be wearing jewelry in that picture?
Yeah, she has a tennis bracelet that she loved. I see her ring on it.
And can you tell us a little bit about the tennis bracelet? Where did she gotten it?
David got it for her, and it was similar to like a tennis bracelet, but I think it was platinum.
Okay. And by tennis bracelet, just for the record, what are
Yeah.
you describing?
Just, I don't know, diamonds.
Do you know what the setting was?
No,
The metal?
I think it was platinum. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'd offer States 5.
Mid,
May I publish?
mid.
Did she wear that bracelet frequently?
Yes, she's hiking in that picture. It looks like she wore it everywhere.
Was she an outdoor kind of girl?
Yeah.
She liked to hike and that sort of thing?
Hmm.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked States Exhibit 6. This is an envelope, and there's an envelope inside. Without removing the envelope, just look at what's in it and see if you recognize what it appears to be.
I can't see anything.
Okay, do what you have to do. Just try not to take it out of the envelope.
Oh, that's her bracelet.
Okay. Does that look like the bracelet that you knew her to have?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, take a closer look if you need to.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And I'd like to offer State 6 at this point.
Mid.
Your Honor, this has no hazmat sticker on it, just for the court's
What's
information.
that?
This has no hazardous sticker on it, just for the court's information.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand you the envelope that you were just looking at. Could you take these scissors and cut it open and take the bracelet out?
You're pretty brave. Handed me scissors. I can cut anywhere on here.
Probably at the end would be the best.
That's where the
Be
bracelet
careful
is.
not to damage the bracelet. Okay, can you show us that? Hold it up and. It is very similar to yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
May I publish?
Okay, you did a good job, Miss Zurcher. Hang on. Second there. If I could have just a moment.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Russ?
Ms. Zurcher, do you remember being interviewed by detectives in February regarding your sister's disappearance and death, February 2006?
Yes,
That was Detectives Anderson and Decker?
yes,
Okay. And February 16th would have been, I guess, 10 days after Nicole was found dead. Is that right?
yeah. Right after her 33rd birthday.
And they asked you a number of questions about Nicole and David. Do you remember that?
Yes,
And the circumstances surrounding Nicole's disappearance.
yes,
And you wanted to provide them as much information as you could in order to aid them in their investigation, didn't
right. Yes,
you? You testified today that when you first spoke with David Pietz, you told him to contact various hospitals and so forth, and then you called him back later that evening and he said he'd been sleeping.
yes,
That was significant, or that is significant in your mind, correct?
well, yeah. I'd be looking for my wife.
You didn't tell this to the detectives, though, in February 2006, did you?
What, did I?
That David was sleeping when David told you he was sleeping when you
I
told
don't
him?
know if I told him or not.
Okay. You didn't tell the detectives either that David didn't do anything to look for Nicole during that week.
Nobody asked me.
You didn't think that that was something important that the detectives should know, that he was...
Well, I thought that everybody knew because he wasn't helping at all.
You testified about some statements that you say David made voluntarily about we've taken to not wearing our wedding rings and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That is significant in your mind, correct?
Yeah,
You didn't tell the detectives that in 2006 when they interviewed you, did you?
I thought I did. I don't know. I just thought it was weird that he brought it up without me asking him.
You mentioned taking Nicole to get an epidural for her back.
Yes,
Was that actually a steroid injection?
I believe so. I don't know what kind of medicine. I just know it was a big shot.
If I may have a moment, Your Honor.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Can you redirect?
Just briefly. Ms. Zurcher, when the police first interviewed you in 2006, do you remember about how long they talked to you for?
No,
Was it brief, long?
brief. It was
you
very
give a-
brief.
Did you give a longer statement at some point
Yes,
on tape?
yes, later.
State's Exhibit 7 has been marked.
So when you talked to them the first time, off tape, the defendant's lawyer was just asking you about, did you tell them everything at that point, or was the investigation just starting underway?
It was just
Wedding rings.
what did you ask?
That was a terrible question. Sorry. Could you take a look at the highlighted portion.